Alright, we're going to get you set up to play 1865, the Flying Confederacy, and the Guns of Freedom here. Hopefully about 5 minutes. We're going to start out with setup. Set up our tracer and our sky cannon. They're the weapons that we have, the turrets we have for our first episode. And the rule in the game is they got to be a bomber's card length apart. And once you're there, those two are set up. The next thing we have to do is move some of this stuff off to the side so it's out of our way. Move our dice out of the way. We don't have our repeating long rifle unlocked yet, so we'll put that over there as well. And next we have to set up our elevation markers. So to do that, we're going to stack these 5 up, and at each of the end points of these 5 cards, we're going to put one of the elevation markers here that's on your buildings. So our red command center will go here. Next we'll have our orange dairy farm will go up here at the end of this card. Then we'll have our yellow spotlights. Then we'll have our laboratory all the way up here and our airfield over here. Note, just because we're using these for elevation markers does not mean we have access to them yet. You'll notice on many of these buildings there's an unlock check mark. The only 3 buildings you start the campaign with are your dairy farm and your sky cannon and your tracer. That's it. Now we're going to take our bombers here, and we need to pull out bombers 1 and 2 because for our first mission, those are the only ones that we're going to be using. So we can take 3, 4, and 5 and set those off to the side. Those won't be used. And we've got 1 and 2 here. We'll give them a quick shuffle. And then we're going to randomly put 1 up here at the highest elevation and put the next one over here. Whenever you're spawning in the bombers, they spawn middle, left, then right, which is a little cut off the screen, but for this, that won't matter. Now, when the bombers come in, what you have to do is you have to find their first dark blue symbol, if they have a dark blue symbol, or find their highest elevation, and then find their leftmost highest elevation. So for this one, it only has 1 dark blue, so he's actually going to spawn in with that pointing down. This one has 3 dark blues. He's also going to start in like this. Whenever they move, they rotate like this, and then he'll rotate and he'll move to the next lowest elevation. And now he's on the light blue elevation. He gets to the yellow elevation, and from there, he could only move up. Whenever a bomber would move up, instead it releases its bombs. So for this one, that would mean rolling 2d6 and killing 2d6 of our precious cows. We don't want that to happen, but we have some time with this guy. So he's going to start in like this. Each of these also has an escort number up here. These both have an escort of 2, and that means when they spawn in, they're going to have 2 fighters come in with them. So we'll take 2 of our fighters, and they like to stand below the bombers, and that'll try to block us from shooting them, which is kind of unfortunate for us and for the fighters, but I guess it's good for the bombers. The last part of setup that we have to do here is if we look at our sky cannon up here, it tells us we get 2d6 for it. So that's these 2 dice here. At the start, we get to roll these, and whatever results we get, we're going to get to put those on our turrets. Note, this one does not give us any dice. So we could put both of these right on our sky cannon here. We could put 1 on the sky cannon and 1 on the tracer. The more you play, the more you'll get a feel for where you want to put them. With this roll, I will go ahead and put 1 on each. And I've also got my tracer cube, which we're now ready to go into our player turn after we finish setup. You can either take a reload action or a shoot action. It's one or the other. But no matter which one you take, you always get to shoot a tracer from your tracer cannon if you want. So we're going to take a shoot action because our guns are already fully loaded at the start of the game here. So let's move into our shoot action. So the first thing I'm going to do for my shoot action is I'm going to go ahead and flick my red cube here. And the rules for flicking are pretty simple. Whenever you hit it, the first thing that it would hit is what it's considered to hit. So this one hopped right over this little guy. But since that's the line he was on, we'll count that as a hit there. So that fighter's hit by the tracer. It's destroyed anytime a tracer hits a fighter. It immediately destroys it. If the tracer is able to hit a bomber, it can stay on that bomber, and it can change the rules for how we're able to hit bombers because, as I mentioned, the first thing you hit is what counts as being hit. So that was my first thing. Now each of these guys also get to shoot their dice if I want. So I'm going to go ahead and shoot this one from the tracer. Give it a little flick here, see if that hits. And I missed. That's unfortunate. All right. Whenever you shoot a turret, it has these numbers on it. It has a 2, a 1, and a 0. That's its durability. So it's going to rotate from 2 to 1 each time I shoot it. And that durability will get refreshed whenever we do a reload, if we reload that weapon. All right, so now I've got to shoot with my sky cannon. Hopefully we'll have some better luck here. Okay, that time we actually hit the bomber, and I hit it with a 3. So I can leave that right on there. This bomber has an armor of 3 and 2 hit points. So this will cover that 3 armor, but it's still got 2 hit points left, but I can leave that right on there. That will be, oh, I almost forgot to reduce my sky cannon's durability. So let's go ahead and do that. And now it's going to be the Confederates' turn, and that means that these bombers are going to advance. Whenever they advance, like I said, they just rotate. And now we've got one further for there. This guy, when he rotates, now he has the light blue symbol. So he and his fighter are going to move down together. Now after they both move, then we have to take 2 dice from the supply. If there aren't dice in the supply because they're all on your turrets or they're all on bombers, you have to pick at least 1 die from somewhere, which can be a benefit. If you have a 1 sitting on your turret, you get to take that and re-roll it to see, if these bombers are going to move again. So they automatically both move once, and then if you roll any 1s, for each 1 you roll, you have to move another bomber. So let's pretend here for a minute that I rolled Snake Eyes here. Go ahead and find those 1s. I rolled Snake Eyes. Okay, so I could pick move that bomber once, move this bomber once, or I could say, you know what, I'm just going to move this bomber twice because he's got a bunch of movement on him. So I'm going to move him once, and then I'm going to move him again, and now he does have that light blue. He comes down here as well. So that's how that roll works. And if you're getting scared because there's a lot of dice rolling, there is. In the second episode, you unlock a lot more ways to be able to mitigate those dice rolls. In this first episode, we don't have that quite yet, but that's okay. Okay, so back to our turn. They're done. I don't have any dice here, so I can't shoot these guys. I can shoot my tracer. I'm going to go ahead and do that. Okay, I was going to hit this guy. This is a very bouncy table. I haven't played on this neoprene before. Okay, so that got that guy out of the way. That stays there for now. And now I have to do a reload action. Unless you have command points, which we don't have yet, you need to only reload 1 turret. So I'm only going to be able to reload my sky cannon, which is fine. That's the only one giving us dice anyway. I've got a 3 and a 4, and that will restore its durability. But because I don't have that command point to make it an efficient reload, only the sky cannon gets restored there. And that will end our turn. So these guys are going to advance again. This guy's, oh, he's quick. Okay. And then we're going to roll that 2d6. No 1s, good, because that would have been ugly. All right. Now it's our turn again, and we've got to destroy this guy because he's about to drop his payload on us, and we don't want that. So let's hope we can hit this Confederate fighter here. Okay, good deal. And now we just need a 2. So I'm going to try and hit this flat so this die doesn't even roll. Hit the other one, right? That's good. All right, so we got 7 there. That's more than the 5 we need to destroy this. This stuff all goes to the supply. 1 bomber down. Got to remember to reduce our durability there. Now it's this guy's turn again. He's rotating, and he's about to come down to yellow, and then after that, he will be dropping his payload as well. So we're running out of time there. That was a 2. All right. So we got a little bit of time left. All right. So what I want to do now is I want to try and hit this guy with my tracer without hitting that fighter. That's the goal here. All right. We're going to say that hit. It was really close. And also, just needed to hit it for the purposes of this tutorial. So what the tracers do is it means that this flick die can basically ignore this fighter on the way to hitting this bomber. So if I flick this and it hits up here and goes through this fighter and hits here, it counts as hitting the bomber. But what's more is if you directly hit that red cube with this die, you get to flip this die to a 6. So that's the goal here. I want to try and flick this die and hit that red cube. I don't like my chances, but let's give it a try. It wasn't going to happen for us. That flipped to a 6 anyway. All right, so I did hit the card because it moved, so that's a good deal. So that is going to destroy that bomber, and that would be the end of the introductory episode. Episode 1, there are 5 episodes, and they ramp up pretty significantly in difficulty. But that should get you off and running. The next thing that I wanted to say is one other situation. So let's say we've got a 6 and a 2 here. Now I could just flick this 6 and hope that this stays on a 6 and hits this bomber. One other thing that you can do is if these dice are both on the same turret, you can flick one. Okay, you have to actually hit the bomber. All right, so I hit the bomber and I've got a 3 there. That's not enough to destroy it. What you can do is you can swap. You can take another die from that same turret and use that value instead. So it uses up 2 dice. But if you've got a 2 and a 6 on a turret, and you can plan it out that way, you can guarantee a kill by leaving that high value die on your turret and flicking your low value die. And maybe it tumbles over and it's a 5 or a 6 anyway, and you're golden. But if not, then you can pull that other one off your turret and go that way. So that's all I've got to show you. I hope this was helpful. I really appreciate you checking it out. And that is 1865, Flying Confederacy, and the Guns of Freedom.